Hi there, Microbytes. My name is Jonathan. I am the Children's Librarian here at the Ashburton Public Library. And in this session, this is part 2 of a 3-part series for making a space shooter game for the Microbit. So in part 1, we created our sprite and we created a means of shooting. In this part, we are going to create the enemy spaceships and how they're going to come down the screen. And then in the third part, we'll kind of polish it off and get the interaction between us shooting and the enemy dying, and put a scoring element in as well. Right, so let's get to it. We are going to go. First thing we need to do is we need to create a new variable called enemy. Okay, and we're going to get set enemy to go, and much like the our own one there, we need to create sprite at a location. And this time, I'm just going to drag this down a little bit to give me a bit more space. What we're going to do is going to add in the math function and have a random variable so it comes down in a random location, because obviously we don't want it in the same location every time, otherwise that'd be a bit boring. So we want random and cross and make that 4. So create sprite at x is anywhere between 0 and 4. That puts it anywhere across the screen here. You can see a wee line of dots there, and I'll sort of explain that a bit later. And y is 2. Now we want y to be 0 because we want it at the top of the screen. So we flick that to 0. And when it updates, it will come to the top. Hopefully. There it is. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is I want to make them move down the screen. So there's 4 steps to this movement. And we want to change sprite change by 1. There it is. So obviously it's enemy. And we're changing its y axis by 1 so it moves down in a vertical line. And yes, we do want it to go by 1. That will make it drop. Now it's sort of skitzing out a bit on the screen. It appears that a whole lot are dropping down to the bottom and they're all across the screen. We will fix this up in a minute. What we need to do is say that if the squares get to the bottom, hang on, we'll slow it down first because it's happening rather rapidly. Sorry, we'll just slow that down because it's happening very well instantaneously. So we want to, oops, all right, grab the pause function and put that, yep, just under here. Oof. And change that to about 500. Now it should drop a bit slower now. There it goes. And it drops to the bottom, but it stays there. So we need to get rid of that. So we need to say once it reaches the bottom, then it's to disappear. So we need an if block. Whoops. So I keep grabbing it. I need to grab sideways there. Now, if and we want a equally thing. And we want enemies grab that one. And we're saying the enemy ship and the Y rather than the X. So if the enemy's Y-axis is equal to or greater than, oh, it can really be greater than, but just in case, equal to or greater than 4, because that's the bottom row, then we want it to delete the sprite. To delete the enemy sprite. So now, when it updates, there we go. Oh, hard to see when it's on top of me. Come on, there we go. It's down to the bottom and disappears. There we go. Right, so now it's dropping off the bottom of the screen. That is good. Next, as you can see, it appears that the sprite is starting from the first row rather than the second row as opposed to the first row, or row 1 as opposed to row 0. And to fix that, it technically is starting from row 0, but because it's being told to move, it moves before it appears. So to kind of stop it from moving before it appears, we want to sort of pause it for a wee split second so it appears and then moves. So to do that, all we need to do is throw in a pause block down the bottom. Sorry, using 2 different laptops and the scrolling mechanism's the opposite way around on each of them. So we're going to chuck the pause block just in here. So now you'll notice that it will appear actually right on the top row, so row 0 there. See, so that's fixed that problem there. The last thing I want to do is that if the enemy hits my ship down here, well, currently it's not doing anything, we want it to say game over, because we want to essentially tell it that we die if we get hit. So if we put in an if, and whoopsie, underneath there. And we want something, no, what do we want to say? If touching is right. So if we want to say if the enemy is touching our sprite, yeah, so if we say the enemy is touching us, so we should grab ours, ship is our one. Whoops, there. So if enemy is touching ship, then, and we just want to say game over. Game over, there it is. So nice and simple, really. So now I'll go down, and if I need to, I'll go bang into one. Move over to its course. Oops. Yes. So I'm used to it. Okay. There we go. Game over. Sorry about that. I had created it earlier on using the buttons, and I forgot that I created it using the pins. Right, so yep, once you get hit by the enemy, then you get a game over and you get a score. So in the next session, we will finish it off and add the scoring mechanism and what happens when the shooting contacts the enemy. Cool, we'll see you there.